Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Chris Beers. President Biden proposes a new labor rule that protects workers from extreme heat in the workplace. We'll tell you who this will affect and why opponents say it will be too challenging to enforce. Former President Trump's sentencing date in the New York criminal case could be delayed. We have more on the response from the Manhattan District Attorney. Indian authorities reporting a stampede today during a religious gathering, leading to at least 116 deaths. A new report shows the Chinese Communist Party is expanding its ability to spy on the U.S. from Cuba. We'll tell you why it has experts in the intelligence community alarmed. The Pentagon hinting at a multi-billion-dollar aid package for Ukraine, what the package includes, and what else the U.S. is assuring Ukraine today. The federal government will be paying Moderna millions of dollars to develop a pandemic influenza vaccine. The hope is that it will be able to treat bird flu, among other viruses. President Biden today proposed a measure to protect employees from extreme heat conditions in the workplace. The proposal would require employers to create emergency response plans for heat illness. They'd also have to provide water and shade to employees, as well as rest breaks. Biden says the protections would cross a wide range of industries and workers.
More people die from extreme heat than floods, hurricanes, and tornadoes combined. Say that again, combined. More people die from heat than those three other major issues. And look, right now we're also tracking Hurricane Beryl, which is passing through the Caribbean. It's the earliest time ever a dangerous Category 5 hurricane has been recorded in American history.
A senior White House administrator says employers in violation of the heat-related workplace rule would see a hefty fine similar to what workplaces are issued for OSHA violations. Opposition comes from industry, business associations, and state governments. They argue the proposed mandate would be hard to carry out across a wide range of industries. Lawmakers in Florida and Texas have passed legislation preventing local governments from requiring heat protections for outdoor workers. Hurricane Beryl is now a Category 5 storm as it makes its way through the Caribbean islands. The hurricane is downing power lines, bringing floods, and has reportedly killed 2 people.
Reports say one person was killed in Grenada, where the storm made landfall yesterday. Another fatality was reported in St. Vincent. The National Hurricane Center forecasts that the storm will start losing intensity today, but still be near major hurricane strength through Friday. Beryl will pass near Jamaica on Wednesday, the Cayman Islands on Thursday, and Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula on Friday. It's expected to bring life-threatening winds and storm surge to Jamaica. A hurricane warning is in effect for the nation. While Hurricane Beryl doesn't pose a major threat to the U.S., experts predict it will eventually impact oil prices. That's because the National Hurricane Center is forecasting a shift in the storm's path that could disrupt oil refineries in Texas. Experts also expect Hurricane Beryl to shut down oil tankers, sending crude to Gulf Coast refineries. And that loss of Mexican oil could temporarily boost gas prices. U.S. oil prices climbed above $84 a barrel today for the first time since late April. Experts are predicting a spike of 5 to 10 cents a gallon over the next week.
Next, a major update on former President Trump's legal cases. The judge delayed Trump's sentencing in the New York criminal case until September. This follows yesterday's Supreme Court decision on presidential immunity. The High Court found that presidents have absolute immunity for core presidential duties. Trump's lawyers asked that to be allowed to argue his conviction should be set aside due to the ruling. The DA said he doesn't agree with Trump's argument, but is open to delaying the trial. Trump is currently scheduled for sentencing on July 11th. The prospect of a delay in sentencing means that Trump is unlikely to be punished before the Republican National Convention later this month. And staying in New York City, former mayor and prosecutor Rudy Giuliani has been disbarred. This comes following 2 indictments over his role in challenging the results of the 2020 presidential election. New York State's First Department Appeals Court said his disbarment is effective immediately. Earlier this year, Giuliani and other allies of former President Trump were indicted in Arizona for challenging the 2020 election results in that state. He was also indicted with other Trump allies in the Georgia RICO case. Giuliani pleaded not guilty in both cases. The former New York City mayor also had his law license suspended in Washington, D.C. The Biden campaign announced it raised $127 million in June. The campaign says it was the best month of the cycle. It now has $240 million in cash on hand, up from $212 million the month before. Nearly 2/3 of June's haul came from grassroots donations. Biden's team is using its war chest to organize in battleground states. Trump's political operation outraised the Biden campaign in April and May. The Trump team received a flood of donations after his New York criminal conviction. The U.S. Marshals Service says it found 200 missing children through Operation We Will Find You Too. This includes sex trafficking victims, abused children, and runaways in a 6-week nationwide operation. Among the children found, 173 were endangered runaways and 25 were classified as otherwise missing. The youngest child was a 5-month-old baby. U.S. Marshals carried out the operation from May 20th to June 24th, along with federal, state, and local agencies. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children offered technical assistance to the operation. It is the second such nationwide missing child operation. The Department of Justice says it focused on geographical areas with large clusters of critically missing children. Next, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin is meeting his Ukrainian counterpart today. Austin says the U.S. is soon going to announce more than $2.3 billion in new security assistance for Ukraine.
This package, under presidential drawdown authority, will provide more air defense interceptors, anti-tank weapons, and other critical munitions from U.S. inventories. It will also enable the United States to procure more Patriot NASAMS, air defense interceptors.
Austin also commented on Ukraine's goal to join NATO. He said the alliance will work towards the expansion at a major summit in Washington next week. This comes as Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban is in Ukraine today. Orban proposed a ceasefire deal with Russia to speed up peace talks. He also pointed out that he wants to improve the relationship between Hungary and Ukraine. Orban said today's meeting could serve as a basis for a future bilateral agreement between the two countries. Hungary is close to Russia and has often opposed more EU funding for Ukraine in the past. And the U.S. is cracking down on companies for training China's military. 2 companies are in China, 2 in the UAE, 1 in South Africa, and another in the UK. NTD's Washington correspondent Jack Bradley joins us now from the State Department. Jack, what's the latest on this?
Good afternoon, Chris. Well, we know that these companies, authorities are saying that they're tied to training the Chinese military, and they've now been put on the Commerce Department's restriction list, meaning that they'll no longer be allowed to import U.S. goods and tech. One of the UAE companies on that list that was just put on there was accused of shipping goods to Russia, and U.S. officials have long been concerned with this. The CCP has been recruiting former U.S. military personnel and increasing their effort in doing so to train them for their own military. And this is part of the Chinese regime's unrestricted warfare. I want to move to the fentanyl, which is coming sourced in China, the precursors, which U.S. officials are working on eliminating. They've been actually working with the Chinese officials, but as we've seen that the House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party back in April released a report that found that the Chinese regime is directly subsidizing the fentanyl precursors, the manufacturing and export, which is coming into the U.S. Most of the fentanyl here is sourced in China, like we've said, so we can see what's coming out of there. Chris, back to you.
All right, Jack Bradley, thank you so much for that report. A new report released today suggests the Chinese regime is expanding its spy bases in Cuba. Research by the Center for Strategic and International Studies shows 4 new suspected Chinese spy facilities on the Caribbean island. After analyzing years of satellite imagery, the report highlights areas on the island where the suspected listening facilities are located. The Biden administration announced last year that China had stepped up its efforts to spy on the U.S. from Cuba. Intelligence experts say the communist island is only 100 miles from the Florida coast. That makes it easy for the Chinese Communist regime to monitor satellite communications from military bases in the southeastern U.S., as well as spy on Americans. The intelligence community released its annual threat assessment this year in February. It states that the Chinese regime will continue to expand its global intelligence efforts to challenge U.S. national security. And over $600 million worth of ecstasy drugs precursors from China were seized at an Italian airport this week. The shipment weighs over 6 tons and contains enough material to produce over 60 million MDMA pills. The Italian police said 2 Chinese nationals have been arrested in the Netherlands, and an Italian businessman in Milan is now under investigation. The shipment was destined for a company headquartered in Milan before heading to the Netherlands. Illegal Chinese drug shipments are also on U.S. watch lists. In April, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, or CBP, seized over 1,000 pounds of drug precursors from China. The kind of powder that was found can be used to make methamphetamine and cocaine. Police report at least 116 people were killed by a stampede at a religious gathering in northern India today. The village is about 100 miles southeast of New Delhi, India's capital. Around 60 people died on location, and 27 more died after being transported to the hospital. A local official just told an Indian news outlet that 116 people were killed. That number is not yet confirmed, however. Initial reports indicate that over 15,000 people had gathered for the event, 3 times the approved amount. The crowd was reportedly rushing to leave a makeshift tent structure. Video of the aftermath shows the tent had collapsed. The federal government will pay Moderna $176 million to develop a pandemic influenza vaccine that could be used to treat bird flu. Concerns about the disease have grown amid cases in dairy cows across the country. Moderna already has a bird flu vaccine in early stage testing. It uses the same mRNA technology as the COVID-19 vaccine. The Department of Health and Human Services would also fund a late-stage trial next year if early results are promising. The project can be quickly redirected to target another form of influenza if a different threat emerges as well. Bird flu was detected earlier this year in dairy cows. The H5N1 virus has spread to more than 135 herds in 12 states and has even infected 3 human beings to date. Something to think about this 4th of July. Shooting off fireworks could result in a big fine or even some jail time in California.
At a San Francisco park, a firework sparked a fast-moving grass fire that was caught on camera. Firefighters quickly snuffed out a 3-acre blaze, but its fast spread is reigniting concerns about wildfires in California and other states facing dry conditions. The fire season in California is much worse this year compared with last year. It reports that there have been nearly 3,000 wildfires so far this year. The fires have scorched more than 130,000 acres. That's a 1,600% increase in acres charred compared to this time last year. A California fire spokesperson warns the state will experience triple-digit heat during this holiday week. The agency said people cause about 95% of all fires. California has a zero-tolerance policy for fireworks. Across the state, fireworks without a safe and sane seal carry a fine of up to $50,000 or up to 1 year in jail. In the cities of San Francisco and Los Angeles, fireworks of any kind are banned. California neighbors, Washington and Idaho, have recently fought wildfires ignited by fireworks and fueled by the relentless drought in the West.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams is promising $2 billion to affordable and public housing. The investment is part of the city's 2025 fiscal year budget. NTD's Fiona G has more.
Last week, Speaker Adams and I passed an unprecedented budget during difficult times, $112.4 billion that we were able to pass. We dealt with the issues of the sunsetting of COVID dollars to keep in place necessary programs, $53 million in our cultural institutions, $58 million in our libraries.
The Adams administration plans to invest $26 billion in housing over 10 years. It also plans to build 500,000 new homes by 2032. At a press conference earlier today, the mayor praised the budget.
And I'm creating a fiscally sound city. So no matter what the uncertainties are, if it's another COVID, if it's another migrants, if it's another this or that we can still run as a city.
After protests, $100 million was given to early childhood education. Another $20 million will create seats for 3-year-olds in preschool, known as 3K. But the budget is not without its critics. Childcare organizations say the budget still makes unnecessary cuts that put financial strain on working-class parents. Other New Yorkers protest the use of tax dollars on illegal immigrant housing. 3 New York City Democratic Socialist Council members also oppose the $11 billion allocated to the NYPD. But Adams reiterated his commitment to supporting the city's police force.
The best reform we could have is people being safe. Because the loudest may talk about disbanding, defunding, removing police department, but that's not what I hear from New Yorkers.
Fiona G., NTD News.
When we come back, a federal court overturns a block on President Biden's student loan plan, what it means for those with federal student debt. And the number of available American jobs is on the rise. What that means for the economy, that story and more after the break.
What do you do when your tire goes flat and there's no air anywhere? You reach for Bullseye Pro, the smarter, faster, hands-free way to fill it up with air. Bullseye Pro is equipped with a rechargeable lithium-ion power plant. So fast and so convenient. It's like the power of an air compressor in the palm of your hand. Look, you can inflate all 4 tires on a single charge. It has a built-in smart pressure digital sensor that gauges and automatically stops when the set tire pressure is reached. Easily inflate pool toys, exercise balls, and more. Call or go online now and get the complete Bullseye Pro inflation system for the factory direct price of just $79.99. Plus, we'll ship your entire order free, and we'll give you a 50% discount on a second one. Order now.
To order, call 1-800-984-7221. That's 1-800-984-7221, or go to getbullseyepro.com.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you. adopting you was the best decision in our life. And I am so proud to call you my son.
Thank you for staying with us. The Education Department will now be able to lower monthly payments on millions of student loans. A federal appeals court overturned a block on President Biden's plan to ease student debt. Biden's rule will lower monthly payments from 10% of borrowers' discretionary income to 5%, potentially affecting millions of borrowers. Federal judges in Kansas and Missouri last week blocked the rule, which was supposed to take effect yesterday. But an appeals court is giving Biden's plan the go-ahead. The appeals court's decision does not affect another injunction in Missouri, which prevents the Education Department from forgiving some outstanding loan amounts. This injunction halted Biden's loan forgiveness program, in which some 150,000 people have already had their loans canceled. U.S. job openings unexpectedly grew in May, and the sales slump continues at Tesla. Here is NTD's Don Ma with today's Business Matters.
Thank you very much. The number of available jobs in the U.S. unexpectedly grew in May. So job openings rose slightly to 8.1 million, according to the Labor Department Tuesday. And an economist at the Navy Federal Credit Union says that the report was another sign that the labor market is holding firm and the expansion looks solid. So the U.S. economy and job market as well have been remarkably resilient in the face of the Federal Reserve's campaign to raise interest rates to rein in inflation. The Fed hiked its benchmark rate 11 times in 2022 and 2023, lifting it to a 23-year high. In other news, bad ones, that is, for Tesla, the electric automaker's sales took a hit for the second straight quarter. Sales for the second quarter came in at nearly 444,000. That's a 5% drop from a year ago. It's the first time Tesla has posted a consecutive year-over-year decline in the number of vehicles sold. But sales were still stronger than some analysts had predicted, and it was enough to beat out Chinese automaker BYD to retain the lead position in global sales of purely electric vehicles. And it's your last chance to get Forever stamps at their current price. A first-class Forever stamp will soon cost 73 cents. This is a nickel more than the current 68 cents. Prices for other services are also increasing, including postcards and metered letters. The new price hikes will take effect on July 14th, and the hikes are part of the UPS's 10-year Delivering for America plan. It's expected to generate $44 billion in additional revenue by 2031. All right, that's all from me. Back to you.
Living in a big city can sometimes be a real challenge. The endless concrete, the hustle and bustle, and all the noise. But hidden within many urban centers is an island of respite for the heart and mind. NTD's Daniel Monahan speaks with Kathy Walker about the wonder of community gardens.
Kathy Walker is president of the American Community Garden Association. Walker says in Georgia, they grow all kinds of healthy goodies year-round. In summer, it's stuff like tomatoes, peppers, green beans, and basil. In wintertime, green leafy vegetables. The enthusiastic gardener says there are over 400 community gardens tucked away in the city, full of diversity.
There's many nationalities in the garden. And I always say, you know, Mother Nature doesn't know the color of our skin. So when we're all in the garden, we're happy and we're growing.
Walker says it's important for people to grow their own food.
We encourage people to know where their food comes from, especially the youth. Whoever controls your food control you, so we want to control ourselves. So that's why you gotta grow your own.
The Garden Association president says that eating fresh vegetables and fruit leads to a healthy body.
We can deter a lot of these high blood pressures, diabetes. We can deter a lot of that by just eating healthy food. If they plant it, and they take care of it and they harvest it, they're more apt to eat it.
The enthusiastic gardener says it's important for people to live their best life. A big key to that, she says, is a mind at peace.
It's just relaxation. It takes all the stress off of you when you got your hands in the dirt. A lot of times I find like it's good to take your shoes off and connect with the earth barefoot. You want to feel that soil go between your toes and everything.
Walker says a community garden is a gift that just keeps on giving.
A community garden is a safe place to bring your family, your kids, and to just socialize with your neighbors. You know, have your neighborhood meetings, have little barbecues.
Transforming unused spaces, according to Walker, can also heal areas of a city that are hurting.
It actually lowers crime in the neighborhood because if a lot of community gardens, they're on vacant lots where it was a lot of like crime going on, and it was turned into a community garden.
Occasionally, Walker says, a community garden may encounter someone who steals the efforts of their hard work. But such hiccups along the way don't deter Walker. She believes the power of people getting together and growing is transformational.
If you get all of us community gardeners together, we can change the world.
So you heard it from Kathy, everyone. A healthy mind and body through gardening. All you need to get started is a patch of soil, sun, seeds, and water. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
So nice. Thank you so much for watching NTD Newsroom. I am Chris Beers. Join Tiffany Meyer for the NTD Evening News at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific. See you tomorrow.